about to join Don Neuen, co-host of Cowboy Logic Radio, and Denise Simon, host of the Denise Simon Experience, for a weekly situation report, or SITREP. 18 hours a day, Denise Simon lives her life as an Intel Analyst. 18 hours a day, Don Neuen lives his life in the world of rock and roll. 1 hour each day, Neuen receives a daily SITREP from Simon. Welcome to the Drive Time Situation Report. Fasten your seatbelt. You're now in Don Neuen's car, and he is calling in for his SITREP.
Hello.
What's up, Denise?
Merry
How you doing?
Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Denise Simon. Merry Christmas, Denise Simon.
You too.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's Drive Time Situation Report. You have got on one end of this conversation, Denise Simon. And on the other end of the conversation, your good buddy, Don Neuen. And we're going to be talking for the next almost 1 hour as I drive home after a long day at work, and Denise is going to catch me and all of you up on everything that happened today that is significant and important. Now, we usually timestamp the show, which Denise is going to do in a minute, so that you guys that are listening to this show at different times throughout the week will know when this Drive Time Sit Rep took place. We do that because every once in a while, and not too infrequently, Denise Simon will spew forth information that is way ahead of the curve. Sometimes months, sometimes years, sometimes decades ahead of the curve.
Oh,
now,
babe.
Denise, it's been a while since you've done things that are decades ahead of the curve. But nonetheless, you are out in front many, many times.
Thank
so
you.
As I
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Denise Simon. Now, the other thing, ladies and gentlemen, is that Denise Simon and I will frequently blurt out Merry Christmas throughout, throughout this show and well, maybe next week's show. I don't know if we'll have one next week. Anyhow, I choked on my own happiness there, Denise. We are going to blurt out Merry Christmas because for 8 long years, we were instructed by the Barack Obama administration that it was politically incorrect to use the term Merry Christmas. And we had to be celebratory with one hand tied behind our backs. We could say Merry or we could say Christmas, but we couldn't combine the two, right, Denise? For 8 long years, we could not combine those two unless we were celebrating from within the shadows.
Yeah, it was holiday Christian persecution.
I agree. So, Denise, Merry Christmas.
You too. I'm not going to do this happy holidays thing, although it is the holiday season. I will say that.
Happy holidays, I think, is for transgenders.
Okay.
So I've heard.
All right.
Not that there is anything wrong with transgender people. It's just that my understanding is that a lot of times they say Happy Holidays. They don't say Merry Christmas.
True enough.
Hang on one second, Denise. I'm going to try something I haven't done before. Hang on one second. Bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. I am going to make an attempt.
Ruh-roh.
Hold on.
Ruh-roh.
Hold on. I'm going to take my earpiece out. I'm doing a live radio show right now, and I wanted to come over and tell you thank you. You're on the air, man. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I have pulled up next to a APD, Atlanta Police Department squad car who's keeping the neighborhood over here in what I affectionately term as the hood. I'm about to enter the hood, and he is out here and not home with his family right now, where I guarantee he'd rather be. Right. And my friend, Blue Lives Matter. Thank you, sir.
Jingle bells, officer.
What?
Tell him jingle bells, officer.
All right, they're all wishing you Merry Christmas, man.
Tell them I appreciate it, man.
Have a good night.
All right.
Hands free. Okay. All right, well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That was one of APD's finest, and he's protecting, and I'm serious. He's, we just got a salute from him. I'm digging that.
Wow.
We're in the hood. Now, Denise, I don't know if you know where I'm really at, but are you familiar with the Bolton Road area?
Oh, Bolton Road.
Exactly. It takes me over to Perry Homes and Bankhead Highway. I'm going to be over in that area, and that's not a real good part of town. I mean, there's a lot of Bloods and Crips and drugs and heroin and everything else going on over there.
What's that mall? What's that mall out there on I-20? West End? Huh?
Oh, you're talking about inside the perimeter.
Yeah.
West End Mall. That is a really, really rough part of town.
And that's like the reciprocal. Is that on the other side was what? Stonecrest?
That I don't. Oh, you're talking about on the east side of Atlanta?
Yeah, on the other side of 20.
yeah, out by Conyers. Uh-huh. Well, here's the deal. There's a part of town, and ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get to the SITREP in here in a second. But it's the week before Merry Christmas, and we ran into a Blue Lives Matter man, and we had to stop. But where you're talking about, Denise, for West End Mall, just south of that is a part of town that is called the Bluffs. Now, if you Google the
you're
Bluffs,
taking me back.
Okay? You Google the Bluffs, and it is like in the top 5 most dangerous neighborhoods in the state of Georgia. It may be even in the United States. I mean, it's a really, really bad part of town. And it's actually extremely heavy with drug sales, primarily heroin. And so the Bluffs, sounds like you were typing, you might be Googling this thing.
No, not me.
There's a documentary that's been done about it, and it's not easy to watch. All right, Denise. So we've wasted enough time. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're having fun with this rather discombobulated drive time SITREP. But by the way, Denise, I am passing James Jackson Parkway right now. This is someplace you do not want to walk around without you don't want to walk around, period. Got a weapon or not. And if you do walk around here, you better damn well be yelling Merry Christmas at the top of your lungs so that everybody thinks you're Santa Claus and they ain't going to hurt you. By the way, Denise, I believe it was in the UK. There was a Santa that was dancing around with a bunch of kids. He fell out and died in front of them.
I didn't see that one.
How's that for something that...
I saw one that fell off a boat, but I didn't see that one.
This guy just kind of passed out, collapsed, and died. You talking about something that would scar a 5-year-old for quite a while? Watching Santa collapse and die in front of you. What do you tell the kid? I guess at that point you got to tell them it was a fill-in for the real Santa or something.
Well, we got teachers over here that substitute, and they come in the classroom and tell them the 5- and 6-year-olds that Santa isn't real anyway.
That's right, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
New Jersey is where that was taking place. All right, so let's timestamp and get down to business because
it's 8:48 p.m. Eastern on the 18th of December in the year of our Lord, 2018.
What's that mean, Denise?
What's what mean?
18th of December.
I don't know.
Merry
what is it?
Christmas, Denise. That's what it means.
Okay.
All righty then.
We just have a few shopping days left for free shipping.
That's right. I got to tell you, Denise, I'm in a better mood tonight than I was last night, man.
Okay.
I was pissed last night. And ladies and gentlemen, we actually tried to record a Drive Time SITREP last night, and for whatever reason, Uber Conference didn't want us recording it. Maybe they sensed how irritated I was because I was not a pleasant individual to have to do a radio show with. Do you agree, Denise?
You were a whole lot less than snarky. I mean, you were someplace. Yes.
Testy is a good word.
Oh, that's an understatement.
I wasn't rude. I was just really irritated at what was going on with just about everything.
The entire topic, and we'll cover it again tonight so the listeners can hear it, is on equal application of the law. And my position to you was it will never happen in our lifetime, or the lifetime after that, or the lifetime after that. It has to do with, federal people on the federal payroll, and a lot of people even on state payroll have a built-in firewall. They're virtually protected because of these cockamamie laws and unions and all these other things that are there that really keep them from being prosecuted. And even if they are prosecuted, there's generally, you go pay a fine and go sit in the corner and behave for the next 6 months. The ethics committee, both in the House and the Senate, have virtually no teeth in it. All it says is, these are the things you can't do. Is there a consequence to if you violate some of those things and you do them? No, not really. And then you've got different laws in different states. So what happens in the state of Florida, you get punished with 6 ways from Sunday, but if you go out to California or Illinois, it's just nothing more than a parking ticket. And then you have those district attorneys, you have the prosecutors, and you even have the judges that apply such discretion to cases. It's really remarkable. And then they may not even prosecute at all, I might add. But then you had, let's kind of go back in just a few recent years. Do you remember when Barack Obama just decided that he was going to let, what was the number? 10 or 14,000 felons he just released?
Right.
Remember that one?
Yep.
We don't even know how those names came up, but people started looking at some of them.
11,000 of them were in the Bluff, right where I drove past.
So the point being, sadly, when we are going through what we call criminal reform or prison reform or whatever it is that reform that we're trying to do, if we're going to try and even out the playing field, it is the expectations need to be put in check because we're not evening out the playing field. We're just not doing that.
No, and in my opinion, it's getting worse.
I agree with you. So,
and that's what, you just had to do this. Now I'm starting to get in that crappy.
Okay, well, blame me. You can blame me because, again, I'm the one that
This is on your mantle. This is on your mantle, Denise.
I'm not trying to, burst anybody's bubbles here. I'm just a clinical approach. I just put the facts out there, and everybody can do what they want to with them. But if you think you're going to have equal application of the law, it's just not going to happen. Now, people can go into court, but what ends up happening there? The lawyers on both sides start talking to each other, and then you end up with a plea deal.
Yeah, I'll tell you what happens when you do that. You end up spending $100,000 of hard-earned money and get really nothing out of it. I know that firsthand. Hey, Denise, I think since you're so clinical, we need to start referring to you under a new moniker. You know what that is?
What?
You are the Dr. Ruth of intelligence.
Oh, God.
You remember her?
Let's get clinical.
No, that's clinical.
Instead of physical,
Oh, yeah, okay, I see the parallel.
Let's get clinical. That's me.
Weird Al Yankovic are on that. Hey, seriously, though. Dr. Ruth of Intelligence, Dr. Ruth Intel Report, featuring Denise Simon as Dr. Ruth.
Oh, God.
I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. When Dr. Ruth was on TV, I was a young person. And quite frankly, that is the last person on the planet that I wanted to hear talk about that. It was definitely a mood killer. Don't you agree, Denise?
Yeah. What do they call it? A buzzkill?
And here we have the condom. This is the condom. No, Dr. Ruth, don't pull that out. All right, back to you, Denise. I'm
party balloon.
Stay away from
party balloons.
Being in a yeah, exactly. All right, let me ask you this. I saw a headline today And because of the intensity of what was going on today, I basically was able to read headlines. And that headline said that two things. Number one, that the $5 billion wall deal is pretty much off the table, that it appears that the White House, and they used some very careful wording, may, appears, it was non-committal, but that might be off the table. The other thing that was quite disturbing, I think it's the $5.8 billion that we're going to dump into Central America. Now, that's something that you have endorsed in the past. We need to help these struggling countries. Instead of nation build, we need to get down there and try to spur the economy and see if we can keep people in their own damn countries and away from here. But
I'm a proponent anymore of just going down there and buying those countries. Let's just buy them. Okay, let's just go buy Honduras. We could probably get it for, I would say 2 shekels at this point.
How much is a shekel?
I don't know, but it's clearly less than $1.
2 of them.
Okay.
Right.
So let's buy Honduras and El Salvador and Guatemala, and let's just, we'll annex them. It works for Putin. He can annex. Why can't we annex?
Why don't we turn them into military bases?
Hey, I'm good with that too. But
Yeah.
And I would say that when it comes to Europe, by the way, they've got the exact same problem because they are taking in under the same conditions as the United States. They're taking in people from North Africa, several countries from North Africa. So Europe, England, France, Italy, Portugal, they've lost their identity too. Okay, we've lost ours. And so what is remarkable to me is that there's virtually no relationship between Trump and Theresa May. There's no relationship anymore, I would say, between Trump and Macron. That one kind of fell apart over the yellow vest protests. But, I'm hoping in the new year that there's going to be some confab. There's going to be a kumbaya moment with Western nations, because there's going to have to be a real, cogent, tangible, realistic plan for what the world is going to do with failing nations. With France, the UK, Italy, Germany, they can't keep taking in all these people. The United States can't keep taking in all these people. So we're going to have to really figure out where we're going to go. And it has to be where these Western nations absolutely come together with some kind of a plan. Are
you suggesting colonization again?
I never said colonization.
No, I'm asking that.
No.
You that.
No. The United States has never colonized anything, contrary to what Barack Obama accused the United States of doing.
I understand, but you were talking about the Western nations.
Yeah, and so the Western nations need to say, okay, let's take a look at Libya, let's take a look at Chad, Niger, Algeria, Tunisia, and even if you get into Middle Africa, Somalia, Cote d'Ivoire, some of these others, and start saying, do we really want the population to flee? So there's what ends up being their labor. They have a labor drain. If they have a labor drain, then they end up with a brain drain. I would tend to argue that those people that are coming here into the United States, whatever way they get here, illegally, but whatever method they use to get here, are those that think that they have something really to offer us, which in this case is labor. But they're savvy enough to make this trip. They're smart enough not to stay because they think that they're going to come here and get on some kind of entitlement program, which says they've been sold a bill of goods and they've bought into it. But who's left? I would say who's left is actually worse, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not hip to any of it. Hey, listen, in my opinion, to leave your country, to go to another country, to get a better job, is not an excuse or a reason to leave your country. That doesn't fly. That is not fleeing tyrannical governments. That is not fleeing danger.
Well, I have often said that if these people want to apply for asylum, okay, you can apply, and then we'll determine whether we accept the application and approve the application. But I would also say you have a 3-year limit. If the first day after 3 years, you have to go back because of what you have learned about how the systems work in the United States, the freedoms, the Bill of Rights, and all these other kinds of things. You need to take back to Honduras and El Salvador and Tunisia and Chad and Somalia and Algeria and help us help them. So, I'm a big proponent in high tides, all boats rise. This failing countries nonsense is just not working. This is not working at all because now we've got 300 nations across the globe, whatever that number is. And how many are failing? I mean, Syria at one point, believe it or not, used to be an amazing country, very westernized. Same thing with Turkey. Iraq was the cradle of civilization. It was all Christian at one point. So,
what are you saying, Denise? What are you saying? Hey, before you continue, we've only got a couple of minutes and we got to go to that dreaded bottom of the hour break. So let me tell all of you people that I am strongly suggest. Merry Christmas, Denise, first of all.
Merry Christmas to you and the listeners.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, please trot over to Denise Simon's personal website, founderscode.com. Founderscode.com. That is where all of her work is posted. And if you put your email address in the little box at the top of the page, then you will get an email notification the minute Denise publishes a new article. That way, A, you're notified, and B, you can save it for when you can read it at your leisure. The point is, sign up for her notifications because Denise does all of the work for you. She vets everything. So when you're reading one of her articles that it is well vetted, credible information that you can pass on, that you can discuss with others, and you can do it with credibility because she's already done all of the work for you. And you don't have to worry about picking up fake news or bogus information that's going to make you look like a fool when you start talking to people or sharing on social media. So I really encourage you to go to founderscode.com. It's an excellent website, and she is stellar in the work she does. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Denise. We are going to take a bottom of the hour break. It's going to last for 3 minutes. So if you need to jump up, run to the restroom, just make sure that you hurry back because you're listening to the Drive Time SITREP, and we're going to be back in 3 minutes.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
Hi, thank you for listening. My name is Ron Phillips, and I'm the owner and operations manager of Talk America Radio. It is with great pride that I offer you this 24/7 stream of some of the finest talk radio programming in the country, but I need your support. We are a listener-supported network. That means we need your help to continue to offer the quality programming you're hearing right now. If you're able, please visit talkamericaradio.us and click the Support Us button. Your donation will go a long way in helping us continue to share the American voice. Thank you.
This is Denise Simon, host of the Denise Simon Experience. When I'm not debating with Donna Fiducia about politics, I listen to Cowboy Logic Radio. Why, you ask? Because outside of my blog, founderscode.com, and my own radio show, the Denise Simon Experience, Cowboy Logic is by far the most entertaining and informative radio show on planet Earth. Plus, Don makes me feel guilty if I don't listen to his radio show every week.
Hi, this is Donna Fiducia, co-host of Cowboy Logic Radio. For 28 years, I was in the mainstream media, most recently as an anchor at the Fox News Channel. No more. Ladies and gentlemen, the mainstream media has completely failed the American people. Radio networks like Talk America Radio will not fail you. Radio shows like Cowboy Logic Radio will not fail you. Check out the entire roster of over 60 weekly radio shows by visiting talkamericaradio.us. That's talkamericaradio.us.
TalkAmericaRadio.us.
This is Denise Simon. 18 hours a day, I live in a world as an intelligence analyst. Intelligence analyst. Intelligence analyst. Intelligence analyst. Intelligence analyst. What I find is reprehensible. What I find is terrifying. What I find is treasonous. 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 The mainstream media has completely failed the American people. Failed the American people. Failed the American people. Failed the American people. Join me for the Denise Simon Experience every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Welcome back to the Drive Time.
Merry
Ladies and
Christmas.
gentlemen. Denise Simon, Merry Christmas to you two and our beloved list. Donna Fiducia, I know you are listening to this show. Denise Simon and I would like to wish you
Merry
a
Christmas,
Merry
Donna.
Christmas. That's right. And your lovely husband as well. And I don't mean lovely like I'm attracted to him. Merry Christmas to your husband, too. You know, we've never said his name on the air. We always say Donna's, but we'll keep him
you can say his name is Win, W-I-N.
All right. Well, Merry Christmas, Win. Can you hear me in the other room, big guy?
No, I have the door closed.
There is a little known fact about Win that I want to share. And I believe it was when he was recovering from a surgery and he was all hopped up on meds. You told me that Win sat around and ate grape
Popsicles.
Popsicles and sang Bohemian Rhapsody.
He did. He did. That sounds like something that somebody would do if they're on Ambien or something, but he wasn't on Ambien. He was just on some residual hospital stuff, and he ate grape popsicles and sang Bohemian Rhapsody. Yeah, it was good.
Are you surprised that I remembered that?
I am not. The next thing you're going to do is bring up the grapefruit thing, but...
Yeah, well, we've already done that. That takes too long, and we got a lot of business to take care of. But, ladies and gentlemen, envision Denise's husband standing in the kitchen, leaning up against the counter, eating a grape popsicle, singing Bohemian Rhapsody. There you go. And for those of you that have no idea what Bohemian Rhapsody is, forget it. We'll move on. All right. So, Denise, what's up with the Sullivan deal with Flynn?
I'm very disappointed because the sentencing has now been delayed 100 days, which takes us into March. And Sullivan gave, it was quite interesting today. He gave Flynn the opportunity to retract his plea. And he said, no, I'm going to stay with my plea. And he said, did you know that you did wrong? Yes. And Flynn was contrite, took complete responsibility, blah, 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 blah. And then at one point, Judge Sullivan said, because he was on the payroll of Russia and Turkey, and how those things played out, he said, you sold out your country. And he even mentioned the word treason. And then there was a recess at 12:30. And I don't know what happened in the recess. But when the unrecess happened and court came back, Sullivan kind of walked back some of those comments because it was determined that Flynn, when he was a paid operative, foreign agent with Russia and Turkey, that it was done before he was virtually the formal national security advisor to a Trump White House. This was still in campaign/transition time. So we had to walk some of that back. So delaying delaying the sentencing says to us that Flynn is still useful in some other cases, not necessarily Mueller cases, by the way. These cases could be in the D.C. Circuit or in the New York Circuit, in the Southern District of New York. So I would say we are no further along after the close of the court today with Flynn than we will be tomorrow or going into March. So something else is afoot here.
I read something very briefly that said that Sullivan said, if I'll be happy to sentence right now, but if you want to delay this and postpone it, it may not be as severe. Is that correct?
I didn't hear that part, but that doesn't mean that it didn't happen.
Now, were you able to listen to this hearing?
No, I was watching intermittently because I was doing some other radio recordings. I was watching a few key journalists or reporters that were in the courtroom. And go ahead, I'm sorry. And as things were being said or questions were being asked and answered, those tweets came out. So I was watching a few of those, but I didn't get to stay dedicated to that because I was doing 2 interviews back to back.
All right. Sidney Powell hit me with a text message at about 7:45. Now, for those of you that watch Fox or Fox Business, you've seen her on quite a bit lately. Matter of fact, I think she's going to be on Fox and Friends. What day is today? Wednesday morning. But she was all over Fox either Sunday or Monday night. I was commenting on her fashionable, beautiful red outfit she had on. And she hit me with a text message about 7:45 today, said, wow, what a day. And she mentioned the transcript. And I said, do you have your hands on the transcript yet? And she goes, no, not yet. I'm waiting for it. So do you know whether that's out yet?
Yes, it is. It is. I have not read it, but it is out. It came out not too long ago. I also have my hands on the first or the second Comey testimony where he had to appear yesterday. And I have not been, that one's 171 pages. I haven't read all that either. I had a busy day.
Is he under oath for that one?
Well, it doesn't matter whether you're under oath or not. Same conditions.
Okay. Didn't seem to matter for Hillary.
Well, it doesn't. I mean, it virtually doesn't. I mean, you cannot lie to Congress. And whether you're going under oath is really a formality. If it didn't happen, it's the same thing.
Why is Hillary walking around a free woman?
Good question. Shall we go back to the beginning of this conversation?
I know. You really don't think that she didn't lie to Congress, right?
Well, Cheryl Mills or Yuma Abedin either.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So what else do we have about the well, I tell you what, let me ask you a question. And you and I have talked about this before. Mark Levin is adamant that Donald Trump will not and cannot be indicted while he is a sitting president. And that's per 2 DOJ memorandums that took place under a Republican administration as well as a Democrat administration. He is adamant about it. He is also adamant about the fact that there was no campaign violation committed, and citing the subject matter expert on that was the head of the Election Commission for many years, the founding member of it, I believe, one of the founding members. And I don't recall the guy's name, but, you know, Levin, you and I both highly respect him as probably the number one, at least in my opinion, the number one talk radio host that's out there. He is adamant, Denise, that Trump cannot and will not be indicted, and that there's absolutely no campaign violations. What's your take on that?
I'm tending to agree with him on the second part of that, on the campaign violation. On the first part of that, I do absolutely agree. It is fundamentally been decided that you cannot indict a sitting president. That indictment would hold until such time that the sitting president is no longer the sitting president.
Correct. They can indict the hell out of him once he leaves office.
Correct.
But not while he's a sit. And that's what impeachment is for. The counter to indictment. If you want to get rid of a president, you impeach him, right?
Well, yes. But in the case of Clinton, that activity happened as president. In the case of Trump, it happened before he was president. So
Correct.
There's a distinct difference.
And you've always said there's a distinct difference. And as you and I were talking last night when I was in such a bad mood, you know, if Trump has done things that are criminal acts, I want him going down. I would prefer he go down after he serves so that we don't have a disruption and more chaos in our country with a sitting president going down. But, you know, if he's broken the law, I want him paying the price just like Don Neuen would or just like Denise Simon would.
I agree.
Which is what chapped my ass so much last night. Because there's a lot of people that aren't going down that should. All right, I'll be quiet. Continue, please.
All right. At the beginning of the show, you were overselling. Merry Christmas, Don, and to the listeners, Merry Christmas. You tended to oversell me again on my abilities to predict something. So I'm going to make a prediction. I don't generally do this kind of thing, but I'm going to put this out there for the listeners because nobody else is really speaking to it. And that is what Russia is doing in Crimea today against Ukraine. And I don't know that people necessarily understand, but there's a full armored tank division in Crimea pointing to Ukraine. The Belbek Air Base in Crimea has now received 2 sizable deployments of fighter jets. The Black Sea and the Sea of Azov have been fully militarized by the Russians. There was virtually no consequence to Moscow and to Putin when he annexed Crimea. We are up to about 14,000 dead Ukrainians because of this conflict. And we have a full-blown war there, and nobody will acknowledge that. Very few. So I'm going to say to the listeners that the United States and Western nations, allied nations, even if they are allied anymore, nobody seems to care about Ukraine. And this is a problem. Because I have a feeling in the early months of perhaps even the first half of 2019, my gut tells me that Russia is going to annex part of Ukraine. And the United States and even Europe even the Baltics or former Soviet states are all going to panic, and they have nobody else to blame but themselves because they have to take action today, and they're not. And so I think things could go very much sideways in 2019. What say you?
Well, what say me is that about, 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago on a SITREP, you brought up a Scandinavian country, and I don't remember which one it was, that
Finland
was heavily preparing for Russian buildup.
Finland.
Yep. I don't disagree. Russia and quite frankly, China are enormous threats, some similarly and some very differently. But I just don't see the strength against those two countries.
Well, I guess what I want to say to the listeners is just put that on a Post-it note and stick it someplace, because at some point the United States is going to get sucked in. And we're going to get sucked in because we've not done anything about it today or yesterday or last year or even during the Obama administration. And as a consequence, when we get sucked in when the conditions are so bad that instead of handling it with 5,000 troops, we've got to go handle it with 50,000 troops or 100,000 troops.
Exactly.
And I haven't seen, I know that NATO has been ringing the alarm bell, but I haven't seen Theresa May. I haven't seen Angela Merkel. I haven't seen Macron. I haven't seen Trump or really anybody come up with some kind of a plan on what we're going to do today so that what I necessarily estimate will happen in 2019 doesn't happen. What do? Well, we're going to sanction. We're going to sanction and we're going to sanction. But obviously that's not impeding Russian aggression really any place on the globe. And we are quasi-feebly, I might add, punishing China for its nastiness, and that's not impeding them either. Nobody likes to talk about...
All they're doing is waiting us out. They're just waiting us out.
And so let's go put Joe Biden... So for the sake of argument, let's go put Joe Biden in as president in 2020 because that's who the Democrats think that they can hang their hat on. What's he going to do? Nothing.
No.
So I feel very badly for Ukraine right now. And I would also say whatever is happening there, they can ill afford financially. So what we're doing here as taxpayers is we're throwing money inside the International Monetary Fund so it can help bail out Ukraine as we bail out everybody else.
Well, there you heard it, ladies and gentlemen. Jot that one down. We'll see. You're right. Denise Simon rarely prognosticates. I got to twist her tennis arm to get her to do it. And I didn't even have to ask. I was wondering if you were all hopped up on the same stuff that Wynn was taking when he was eating popsicles and singing
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
I can just tell you that,
Denise, I got to tell you, I laughed so hard I almost peed myself. That was hilarious.
That's too much information there, Don. But
no,
Merry
it
Christmas,
was
Don.
not. Merry Christmas, Denise. It wasn't too much information. That's a saying. I didn't really almost pee myself. Although, do you have seat heaters in your car, Denise?
Yes.
All right. When you turn them on, does it feel like you peed yourself?
No.
Many people would disagree with you. I bet some of our listeners would disagree with you. That's why I don't like seat heaters. I don't like that feeling. I don't like that feeling, Denise.
All right,
so
good
we got
to know.
about 8 minutes. We need to get away from the seat heaters and Wynn singing Bohemian Rhapsody. Give me something that's going to make me feel good. You haven't done this in a long time, Denise. Merry Christmas, by the way.
Merry Christmas to you. I have no idea what is really out there that I can tell you that it's a feel-good thing, except that we do have some of our military that has been able to come home from the southern border. It's about 750 of them. So some of them will certainly get to celebrate Christmas back at home, at their home base with their family. So that's a good thing. I would also say that we've pretty much stopped that caravan, haven't we? But I would really like for somebody in government to tell us what we've actually given to Mexico to help Mexico pay for this, for harboring the caravan so it doesn't come to the United States.
Yeah, well, 5.8 billion is a start. Hey, Denise, Feliz Navidad. Since we're talking about Mexico, Feliz Navidad to you.
And back at you.
Did you like my Christmas card that I sent you this year?
I did. Absolutely
did. You find it to be very politically incorrect?
I don't find anything to be politically incorrect anymore.
Well, yeah, but I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, you know, the Christmas cards you go find in Kroger and whatnot and Hallmark compared to this thing that Donna and I sent you, pretty politically incorrect, wouldn't you think?
I guess if you want to put it up against the PC police, yes, but in my world, yeah. Yeah.
Well, let me very quick. Hold on a second, Denise. Let me very quickly tell all the listeners so they don't. We got to bring them into this little inside conversation we're having. Every year, Donna and I create a custom Christmas card. I go into Photoshop and we come up with some good idea, or at least an idea that we think's good and funny and politically incorrect. Well, this year, the hot topic, as all of you know, one of the hot topics is all these migrants coming up from Central America through Mexico and ending up at our southern border. So Donna and I thought, what an excellent Christmas card. It has to have something to do with this migrant train of people or the southern border or something. So I found this wonderful photograph that has a picture from Mexico looking through tons of concertina wire at the southern border of the United States. So the view is from Mexico, and instead of putting Merry Christmas on the front of the card, we decided to put in very pretty, don't you think it was very pretty text, Denise?
I did.
Feliz Navidad. And so we sent it out. And we've probably lost some liberal family members that won't speak to us anymore, but we kind of anticipated that anyway. So anyway, that's the backstory on that. All right, so let's see how much time we got, Nisi. You got 4 minutes. What are we going to talk about?
Well, in the 4 minutes, I will tell you that this just happened on a vote of 87-12, meaning it was quite bipartisan, that the First Step Act, which is otherwise known as the huge criminal law reform bill, passed the Senate. And so it'll be sent over to the House, and it'll be voted on a later date and be ready for the signature of the President Trump. So when it comes to liberals and activists and prosecutors and defense attorneys and, you know, all these other people, the First Step Act has passed in the Senate.
What are your thoughts on this?
I haven't read it. But what it's essentially doing is it's not going to affect state prisons. It only covers federal prisoners, which is 10% of the American prison population. So
it's a drop
Trump
in the bucket.
I would say. And I don't know how much money it's going to really cost us, because what we have to do is now we have to go through some kind of education system with these federal prisoners of, you know, whatever select group that they are. And we're going to educate them. We're going to teach them, you know, kind of like, you know, some I don't know, Head Start kind of program, which has failed since that was born. And we're going to teach them some other skills, which I think we already do in prison anyway, to help what they call low-level offenders have some kind of a future / resume that they can apply to a future when they get out of prison.
So basically, it's vocational training while in prison.
I suppose, but
basket weaving.
There are lots of jobs. I mean, you can go into an awful lot of construction things. You can go, into private practice of sorts. You can make signs. I mean, there's just all kinds of little businesses.
If you want to do it.
Exactly.
If you want to do it.
Now, it also, I would say,
Merry Christmas, by the way.
Merry Christmas, Mr. Don. It also gives judges more leeway. Now, do they need more leeway? We're going right back to where we were at the beginning of this conversation, but it gives them more leeway to divert sentencing on minimum mandatory sentencing for nonviolent drug offenders. Now, I guess we're really not going to prosecute drug offenders anymore because it just seems like so many drugs are now becoming legal.
Right. Right.
Oh,
well, all right, we got a minute left, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to take about 30 seconds, and I'm going to give Denise about 30 seconds. I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas, and this is under the assumption that we may do a repeat of this show next week. But a Merry Christmas to all of you and a Happy New Year to you. Happy Hanukkah to all of our Jewish friends. Happy Kwanzaa to anybody that's celebrating that. We sure do appreciate the fact that you give us an hour of your time every week. And we joke around a little bit. We have some fun like we did tonight. But the bottom line is we're here to provide you with well-vetted information and hopefully credible opinions. So with that, we appreciate you sticking with us, and we appreciate our affiliates for airing this on the AM, FM, and internet radio stations. Denise, you got about 30 seconds, and then you can.
Well, I would say a fun thing to do at Christmas is go look up some historical facts about Christmas, especially on who St. Nicholas really was, because that originates in Turkey. And then challenge your Christmas guests with some of those questions. But do have a very, very Merry Christmas, and thanks for being with us, and God bless America.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.